The man tossed meat laced with poison into the yard, yet he had no idea the animal he was trying to poison was no ordinary stray dog, but an ancient divine beast about to break its seal. These habitual poachers had already visited once the day their leader Ryan, gripping a sharp blade, set on taking the dog that stayed with the elderly man who lived alone. The old man begged desperately, pulling out precious Ganoderma he had gathered through hard labor, just to keep the companion that had stood by him for years. But these criminals were insatiable. They took the Ganoderma and still refused to spare the dog. In his panic, the old man spilled the truth, saying the dog was far from an ordinary creature and could transform into a giant beast that had devoured a tiger deep in the mountains not long before. The poachers only thought the old man was rambling nonsense. Right as the confrontation reached its peak, police sirens blared in the distance, scaring them into fleeing. On their way back, Ryan, who had been bitten by the dog, seethed with rage. He had been stealing dogs for over a decade and had never suffered such humiliation. He swore revenge. At that moment, vehicle headlights lit up the road ahead, revealing a tiger carcass almost completely eaten away. The men remembered the old man's warning, yet greed quickly drowned out their fear. They convinced themselves another wild animal had killed the tiger, skinned its pelt right away, then headed back to sneak into the old man's house. The criminals slipped quietly into the yard, tossing meat deadly to dogs laced with poison inside. Before long, all barking from the yard fell silent. The three men thought their scheme had worked, unaware the poisoned meat had never been touched. Hidden in the dark, the divine beast's eyes had seen through every last plot. In the next instant, the dog lunged forward, sinking its teeth deep into one criminal's arm. The poachers flew into a furious rage. Ryan raised a firearm ready to fire, yet he had no clue how terrifying the being he had provoked truly was. Years earlier, the old man had run into a reclusive immortal while gathering herbs in the mountains. The immortal entrusted a young divine beast to him known as the heaven-devouring beast and gave a strict warning never to remove the god-binding chain wrapped around the cub's neck. The old man was skeptical at first until he crossed paths with the tiger deep in the woods. During the life or death moment, the young pup instantly morphed into a colossal beast, tearing the tiger apart and swallowing it whole. Only then did the old man realize he was raising no mere pet, but an ancient god. Now faced with the criminals and cold gun barrels, the old man knew the seal would soon break. He stopped struggling and begged only for them to let the dog keep the golden chain around its neck a little longer. The poachers thought the old man just coveted the chain's value and agreed without a second thought. They stuffed the dog into a burlap sack and hauled it away in their truck. Full of pride, the old man stared after the departing vehicle, his gaze turning ice cold. Back at their hideout, the criminals tortured the dog, shocking it with electricity and beating it with iron rods one after another, yet they soon discovered the dog possessed unimaginable vitality. No amount of abuse could fully subdue it, and one of the men was left with a massive chunk of flesh torn from his body. Enraged, Ryan threatened to cook the dog into dog meat hot pot, then reached out to undo the bothersome golden chain, dismissing all the old man's earlier warnings as ridiculous nonsense. A clear click echoed as the clasp popped open. The air around them turned deathly still. An overwhelming, terrifying pressure dating back to primordial times flooded the entire room. Inside the sack, the divine beast slowly opened its eyes, its plain pupils shifting into endless chaos. A brutal bloodbath was about to unfold.